Hi guys, so today I thought it was more than overdue time that I film my February wrap-up video for the books that I have read in the month of February. So to kick things off, the first book that I finished off in the month of February was Percy Jackson and the Last Olympian, which is the fourth and final book in the Percy Jackson and the Olympian series, which is a middle grade kind of set of novels. And I read this on my Kindle, so that's why I don't have a physical copy to show you. But I actually really enjoyed this book better than I had some of the others in the series. I really liked the first book, which was Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief, which kind of kicked everything off. But ever since then, a lot of the books were basically the first book kind of reworded and put in a different situation, but basically the same thing. But this book was a lot better. It was very action-packed and it kind of intrigued and it made me excited to see how things were going to be rounded off. Can't really talk about this book without spoiling the other books. If you're interested in Greek mythology and you like history but you want that kind of told to you in an action-packed kind of way, then definitely give this series a try. I have heard that the Heroes of Olympus series is a lot better than Percy Jackson and the Olympian series, so that is something that I may need to check out in the future. The next book that I read this month, and I have already made a book review video of, is Fangirl by Rowell. If you've seen that video, you know how much I loved this book, and I highly recommend that you check out that video and check out this book. But basically this is a contemporary YA novel based on a girl called Kath who is starting her first year of university. Now Kath is a bit different, she's quite socially awkward. She is a fanfic writer for a fandom for a book series called Simon Snow, which is very like our Harry Potter series. This book is the journey of Kath as she is thrown into a completely different situation than she has ever been in before, and learning how to change and adapt to this situation and face her kind of own personal demons. Can be some of the worst traits of her own personality, and this book is so relatable to many of us. I think 9 out of 10 if you're watching this video, this book is going to be so relatable to you. So I highly recommend this book, and if you have not already checked this book out or any of Rowell's other works, I highly suggest that you do so, because Rowell is a fantastic writer. The next book I completed was A Monster Calls by Patrick Ness. But I'm not going to lie, I was in floods and floods of tears, and not the nice sweet kind of tears, the bad feeling kind of tears. But that doesn't mean that I didn't love this book and think it was beautiful, because it was. The premise of this book is about this young boy called Connor who every night has this reoccurring nightmare and then is visited by a monster. And Connor is going through a very difficult point in his life, and this book is basically his journey of acceptance that he is going to lose somebody incredibly important in his life, and kind of that fear that exists but we can't admit to when the inevitable is going to happen. It is a beautiful book. It is beautifully, poetically, lyrically written. It's gorgeous, and the illustrations that are throughout the book are just beautiful, and for the illustrations alone it's so worthwhile to pick up this book. I think for certain people it would be a hard book to read. For me personally, it was really difficult to read, but I loved reading it. I think some things hit too much at home and it was maybe too relatable for me, and so that's why it was difficult for me to read, but I loved reading it. Because it's written for children, it is not necessarily the most hard-hitting book that deals with death or the acceptance of death. There are more books out there that even more so people maybe find more hard-hitting or more emotionally impacting. For me, this still did the job. Just because it's a subject matter I don't handle with very well, as you may remember from the Virgin Suicides. Nonetheless, I highly recommend that if you have not read this book and you think that you're in a stage in your life where you can handle reading this and the subject matter won't be too hard for you, definitely pick it up, because even though it was hard for me, I still don't regret reading it because it was beautiful and amazing. The next book that I then read was Looking for Alaska by John Green, which follows the story of a young boy called Miles Halter who decides to go away to a boarding school on search for the great perhaps. He kind of has a kind of lonely, non-exciting life in the current situation that he was living in, and he just wants to go off on this great adventure because he is inspired by people's last words, and he reads a lot of biographies about people's lives, and he is inspired by the dying words of the French poet Francois Rabelais to go out in search of this great perhaps. And so that is what he does when he decides to go away to this boarding school, and he meets new and interesting people. He kind of gets up to mischievous things that he normally wouldn't do and are out of character, and he meets this girl called Alaska. It's hard to continue on with any more of a description of this book without spoiling this book, but this book, it made me laugh, it made me smile, and it had the feels moments in it too. So definitely it is a John Green book, and as always John Green is amazing and fabulous, and you should definitely check it out as well as all his other works. The last book that I fully completed this month was The Sisters Red by Jackson Pearce, which is a fairy tale retelling of Little Red Riding Hood. It is about these two sisters called Scarlet and Rosie, who are werewolf hunters, or as they are called in this novel, Fenris. Already I've stumbled across one of the first problems, is that there is not a lot of background about this story or about why werewolves are called Fenris. It's not explained in this. This book needed a lot more background than what it had. Scarlet is a very bitter person. She was attacked and disfigured at a young age, and she's a very bitter person because of this, and feels like her life is now only owed to killing and hunting werewolves so it doesn't happen to other girls. Where Rosie is very perky and chipper and has a lot of vitality and wants to live life, but then has this great regret that she owes her sister her life for saving her at a young age, and that she can't feel all these happy things that she feels, and that it's wrong because she shouldn't be happy, and that she has to go hunt, and she can have a life that doesn't involve hunting because she owes that to her sister. This book is a dual perspective book, and if I'm being honest, I just liked both the voices. I probably like Scarlett's darker voice a bit more, but both their voices were kind of annoying, and it was hard to enjoy the story because of that reason. The love interest in this also kind of annoyed me. It wasn't the best book, shall we say. It wasn't the best fairy tale retelling. And I wish I could say nicer things about it, but I didn't like it. I didn't quite finish, but what I've decided at the end of last month and to continue on this month is to tackle the Lord of the Rings series. Wish me luck with that. That was all the books that I read this month. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a big thumbs up, and as always, links to my other social media will be listed down below. And please do consider joining our family. I would greatly appreciate it, and you'll be more than welcome. And until next time guys, bye-bye! Yum yum. Demolished. Demolished. Defeated. Are you happy with your pancakes?